Conservative new media viewers, Manny Pacquiao fans, and boxing fans around the world. What's going on? It's me, Paul F. Villarreal. We're here to talk about what Freddie Roach, the coach, the trainer of Manny Pacquiao, had to say in a recent media interview in advance of Pacquiao's fight against Brandon Rios this November 23rd in 2013. Basically, Roach said, quote, "We will be back on top soon," unquote. Now, Manny Pacquiao, and of course, you know, conservative new media, we're big fans of Manny Pacquiao. We like him. I think he's one of the greatest fighters ever. He won titles in 8 different weight classes, which has never been done before. And he's just the type of fighter that we like in terms of he's an action fighter. He's a guy that comes to fight. He's a guy that likes to trade and exchange and throw heavy punches. And that's just fun to watch. I certainly respect skilled fighters that are more kind of stick and move. But Pac-Man is just fun. He's fun. I mean, he gives the fans what they want to see. And that's, I think boxing needs more of that. That's kind of the thing that a lot of fans do want to watch. Anyway, Freddie Roach, who certainly has become pretty much legendary himself as a trainer, he knows that Manny Pacquiao's mystique, Pacquiao's aura has been diminished over the last 2 fights, and those fights being against Timothy Bradley and Juan Manuel Marquez in their 4th meeting. Now, I don't believe that Timothy Bradley beat Manny Pacquiao, and I don't think a lot of people believe that, even though it was on the record as a decision loss, I believe a split decision loss for Pacquiao. However, Marquez obviously beat Pacquiao because he knocked him out. Now, if you watch that fight, Pacquiao had knocked down Marquez in the round before Pacquiao got knocked out. I think Pacquiao was pretty close to finishing that fight, but he got too eager, I believe, to finish the fight, and he rushed it. You can't do that against somebody with the ability level of Juan Manuel Marquez. Particularly, you saw Marquez in that fight and how much work he had done on his body. He was stronger. He was hitting harder. And Pacquiao made a mistake. And Marquez made him pay for it. And that can happen to anybody. I don't care who you are. I've watched a lot of boxing and seen things like that happen to a number of very good fighters. And that's where Manny Pacquiao is right now. That's where Pac-Man is. He still has an incredible resume and is clearly going to the Hall of Fame. And there's no doubt about that. But he needs to build himself back up after those 2 performances, particularly the last performance. And so Freddie Roach is just saying, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going back to the top. We're going to be back on the top of the sport, or, you know, on the top of the division, etc., very soon. Now, again, as I said, the fight will take place November 23rd, 2013 in Macau, China. I believe that that's a big casino area, like a gaming area, and it's going to be interesting. It should be a lot of fun. Pac-Man's been mostly fighting, or has been fighting in the United States for many years now. And I think this is going to be interesting to see how this works, how this event takes place in China. And it will be an HBO Pay-Per-View event in the United States. And they're going to fight early in the day in China so that the United States audience can watch and purchase the pay-per-view later at night when they would normally purchase it. But since you're talking about a place that's, I don't know, maybe 10 hours, 11 hours away from like the eastern coast of the United States, they're going to have to fight very early in the morning. And that's going to take some getting used to by both fighters. Particularly, I would imagine Brandon Rios. Pacquiao spends a lot of his time in the Philippines. He'll be more used to the time over there, which Manila not being too far from China, maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 time zones away. But for Rios, it's a whole different thing. And for both of the fighters, nobody's used to fighting whenever they're going to be fighting at 9 in the morning or whatever it is. I mean, that just doesn't happen. That's kind of like NBA players playing a game early in the day when they're used to playing night games. It takes a lot of adjustment. And so both men are going to really have to work to get used to that ahead of the fight. Now, this is a title fight, although both men are coming off of defeats. It's for a lesser title, but when you have two guys this good, it's not a surprise it's a title fight, and that means it's going to be a 12-round fight. And Brandon Rios has only lost one time in his career, and that was his last fight, which was a rematch. And so he had already beaten that opponent previously, but the other man, I can't remember his name right now, won that bout, I believe, a unanimous decision. It was a very close fight. It was like a 2-point fight, like 115 to 113. And so that was the first loss of Rios' career, although he does have a draw. But Rios has beaten every person he's ever fought. So even though he lost his last fight, again, he had beaten that fighter previously, and the person that he drew with, he also beat him later on. So Rios is a terrific fighter. He's bigger than Pacquiao, although I think he's relatively new to the welterweight ranks. He's taller than Pacquiao. He can punch. He's got about a 70% KO percentage. So this is somebody that can hit. And look, this fight's likely to be a shootout. This is probably going to be a hard-hitting brawl. Brandon Rios likes to brawl, and we know Pacquiao likes to brawl. So this should be a very exciting fight. I think this fight's going to look somewhat similar to the Macklin versus Gennady Golovkin fight in that I don't think anybody's coming to win a points decision. This is going to be a war, and guys are going to be throwing hard shots, looking for a KO or a knockdown, the referee stops the fight, TKO, this type of thing. Again, I'm pumped for this fight. I can't wait for this fight. Now, there's a lot of people, oh, Pac-Man, he's not the same. No, Pac-Man, you know what you're going to get with him. He's going to come to fight. Now, sometimes he's going to fight guys that then don't have the same style. Like, I'm trying to remember the man he fought from Ghana a few years ago. Sometimes the opponent's not going to come to fight, and there's not a lot you can do about that. If you can hold a tight defense and your body can withstand the shots, well, you're not going to get a lot of action in 12 rounds. That was Joshua Clottey I'm thinking of. But Rios isn't like that. That's not how Rios fights. So this should be an action-packed fight. I can't wait for it. Look, if Manny Pacquiao is able to win this fight and win it convincingly and win it in an exciting fashion, well, he might not be quite back all the way to the top, but that's certainly going to lift him far up. That'll show people he's not done yet. It'll give people what they want to see in terms of an action-packed fight. So I agree with Freddie Roach. He and Manny Pacquiao can be back on top relatively soon if they can win this fight. They need to win this fight. I think I would favor Pacquiao in this fight, although, again, Brandon Rios, if he can hit you, he can beat anybody. He can hit you, he can hurt you, he can swarm you. He's a tough guy. I wouldn't be stunned if he won this fight. I certainly do favor Manny Pacquiao to win this fight, though, and I can't wait. And if Manny Pacquiao is able to win it, then yes, This is the first step back, and a big step, depending on how it goes, to Manny Pacquiao getting back to the top level of the sport. And we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what goes down with Floyd Mayweather and Saul Canelo Alvarez. I favor Mayweather heavily in that fight. I remember watching Canelo Alvarez fight Alfonso Gomez, who used to be on the show The Contender, which is kind of like more journeyman type of fighters looking for a break. When I watched that fight, I thought Alfonso Gomez outboxed Canelo Alvarez for the first 4 or 5 rounds. Now, Canelo ended up winning because he got a KO or a TKO, one of those two. But when I saw it, I was like, oh, man, Canelo's got a long way to go as a boxer. And he's still pretty young. I know he's improved since then, and Canelo is undefeated. I just think if Alfonso Gomez can give Canelo Alvarez a hard time boxing, then what's Floyd Mayweather going to do? I could give Canelo a boxing lesson, is what I think is probably going to happen. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, that'll certainly, depending on how that goes and how the fighters look, that can have a effect on how they'll be regarded after the fight, and that can affect Pac-Man. Just kind of how things will look after those 2 fights go down. But again, I expect Floyd Mayweather to win that fight and win it relatively easily. He's got to be careful. Canelo does have power, but because Canelo's coming down to 152 pounds, I think that'll take some of the power and some of the zip off of Alvarez's attack. And Mayweather's just too good. He's a boxing wizard. And I think that Canelo's going to learn that firsthand. So what are you guys thinking? What do you think? Can Manny Pacquiao get back to the top? Where's he at right now? Do you think Freddie Roach is right? Are they going to get back to the top? Who's going to win Pacquiao versus Rios? What's going to happen in the fight? How's it going to go? Is Pacquiao on the way down and Rios catching him at the right time, or is this the comeback for Manny Pacquiao? You tell us in the comments below. Thumbs up, thumbs down on this video. Once again, I am Paul F. Villarreal. Thank you for watching Conservative New Media. We also encourage you to come and join our Facebook group, which has over 2,500 members. You will find information about that, as well as information about the article from which the Freddie Roach quote comes in the video description below the video player. Take care. Hope everybody's having a great summer in the Northern Hemisphere and having a great winter in the Southern Hemisphere, if that's where you're at watching this video. Talk to you soon. Take care.